Here to present AB 2049. As we've discussed at great length in this committee, California's transportation infrastructure is crumbling and there is not a lot of action being taken to fix it. One of the root problems, of course, as we know, is the funding mechanism. Programs like the State Highway Operation and Protection Fund, the State Transportation Improvement Program, and Trade Corridor Improvement Fund have all been starved of money for many, many years. I think we're all aware of that. The list amounts to about $60 billion in unfunded maintenance and repair. The legislation before you today, it's a simple bill, really. It's a common sense solution that provides much needed funding for these programs. This legislation would allow the voters to decide whether or not they want to continue funding high-speed rail or whether they want to reallocate the unissued bond funding to start the much needed road repairs that we've all been speaking over the past several months. I don't know about you. I think it's unacceptable that we have about $59 billion worth of deferred maintenance that we haven't even put a dent in yet. 15% of our roads are labeled as being in a distressed condition, and as the world's 7th largest economy, I think that's quite an embarrassment. AB 2049 is supported by many, many, many of my constituents and probably many of yours, a number of other groups, to include the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association, the Southwest California Legislative Council, and the California Asphalt Pavement Association. With me here today, though, is David Wolf, who will testify in support of the bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I encourage and I vote.
Mr. Wolf, have you checked your Fitbit today?
What?
Have you checked your Fitbit today?
Have I checked my Fitbit? Yeah, I'm getting plenty of good stair climbing in today, Mr. Chairman. It's good exercise. Members, David Wolf with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, thin as ever, and ask for your support vote today. Members, I'd like to take a little bit of a different approach to this high-speed rail bill as opposed to some of the other ones that I testified on earlier today, because I work for the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association and we hate being negative. So a little bit different approach here today, members. I want to talk about transportation alternatives. Okay? Multiple sources have indicated that the current transportation backlog over the next 10 years is estimated to be about $58 billion. Everyone has said it's impossible to eliminate this backlog without raising taxes. But you know what? I think it is possible. Let's just run through quickly how to do this. Okay, so repurpose high-speed rail to road transportation and funding, which this bill does, is $8 billion. Designate another $2 billion a year out of cap-and-trade funding as opposed to the $500 million that we're allocating now. You're up to $10 billion, $18 billion total. Right now we have $2 billion a year out of the general fund budget going to road maintenance and repair, but we spend $10 billion a year on transportation. So only 20% of the money that we spend out of the general fund goes to road maintenance and repair. Why don't we bump that up to $3 billion a year for 10 years, you're up to $30 billion. And repurposing the truck weight fees gets you another $1 billion a year, or $10 billion over 10 years. And lo and behold, members, now granted, some of this would require voter approval, including the truck weight fees, but you're up to $58 billion right there with what I just laid out. So again, members, it is possible to eliminate this deficit, and I would simply say in closing, read my lips, no new taxes. Ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Any other members of the public that would like to testify in support of the author's bill? Seeing none, any members of the public that would like to testify in opposition to the author's bill? Mr. Dunn, have you checked your Fitbit? And I believe this is number...
We're up to 11, sir.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks for the confirmation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jeremy Smith here again on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. Been here once today already to talk to many of you about why we oppose bills that take money away from the high-speed rail project. I'm not going to repeat myself. Suffice to say that this project is started. People are working. People are going to work in one of the poorest places in the state. It is going to lead to tremendous change in their lives, especially when you get the valley-to-the-valley segment created. They're going to be able to live affordably in the Central Valley and move across to go to work in the Silicon Valley. We need a global, broad transportation funding fix, something that the chairman has been working on diligently, taking money away from a project that is desperately needed. as we move forward over the next few decades and population increases occur, taking money away from that project that is desperately needed is short-sighted. For those reasons, we're here in opposition to the bill.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Keith Dunn on behalf of the Association for California High-Speed Trains. At this point in the evening, I'm not going to argue with Mr. Wolf's math. What I will say is I concur that we have great need. We have great need on our roads. We have great needs in our skies. We have great needs on our rail. The voters of California passed the high-speed rail bond and have rejected twice efforts to pull that off. We look forward to supporting the chairman in his efforts and your efforts to find a path to provide the funding that we do need as we move forward to improve our roads. Unfortunately, this bill is not the way to proceed. We'd ask for a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Any other members of the public that would like to testify in opposition to the author's bill? Seeing none, any members of the committee that would like to ask questions of the author? Seeing none, Ms. Melendez, would you like to close?
I would love to close, Mr. Chairman. I wholeheartedly disagree with the witnesses who came forward to testify in opposition to my bill that it wouldn't help the situation at all. Frankly, I think it would help the situation immediately. We have had many a conversation about the funding needs that we have in this state. We've had hearings, we've had special hearings, we've had hearings all over Southern California, and what we've heard is that we have roads, highways, freeways that need to be repaired now and expanded now. And that's something that would have a positive effect on the lives train from point A to point B, which will happen I don't even know when. And I just, to be fair, I am not opposed to mass transit. I used mass transit pretty much the entire time I lived overseas. It's great. But California has some infrastructure needs that we need to resolve right now. And people are getting tired of waiting. They keep hearing about this train that doesn't exist. And meanwhile, they're driving across some roads, which feels like you're riding across the prairie in a covered wagon. That's how bad the roads are. They're getting tired of it, and so am I. So with that, I know you'll agree with me, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Melendez. We do have a first from Mr. Mathis and a second from Member Kim. And I'll have to, Ms. Melendez, unfortunately, I won't be supporting your bill today.
You're not?
Shocker, huh? But I would highly suggest that you do tour the facility and see what is actually happening, because it's coming, and they are building, and they are working. And there were obstacles, unfortunate obstacles, that really were unfortunate to the start of this project. It was, and I do need to clear something up. I said in an earlier on an earlier bill that there's no international airport. There is one in Fresno, but it isn't conducive to a lot of the uses of the people in the valley, or even attainable. With that, as you know, we heard two other similar proposals today, and I share your commitment to finding a solution. This is what I've done. This is why I've traveled up and down the state for the last 8 months, working towards a solution and listening to stakeholders, and admire you serving on the special session conference committee. And I appreciate your work there. But there is this dire need for maintenance, the backlog. As we continue to work a funding package, we will consider all the options, but again, not today on this solution. And for these reasons, I'll be voting no on your bill. But I look forward to working with you on a solution going forward. I'm not going to give up, and neither will you. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
The motion is due pass to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Frazier?
No.
Frazier, no. Linder? Baker? Aye. Baker, aye. Bloom? No. Bloom, no. Brown? Chu? Chu, no. Daly? No. Daly, no. Dodd? No. Dodd, no. Eduardo Garcia? Gomez? Kim? Aye. Kim, aye. Mathis? Aye. Mathis, aye. Medina? Melendez?
Aye.
Melendez, aye. Nazarian? Nazarian, no. O'Donnell? No. O'Donnell, no.
Ms. Melendez has 4 votes. We'll keep the roll open for the absent members. Thank you for your passion.